All right, welcome to another episode of Future Money, where we talk about the investments of the future
that will make us money.
Right.
Please remember that nothing we say here should be taken as personal advice. The conversation is for entertainment purposes only. If you have questions about your financial situation, please talk to a licensed financial advisor.
Right, let's go. Let's get to it.
Yeah, October 25.
October, spooky. Yeah,
can't believe the year's almost.
The year's almost over. You know, historically, September, October were supposed to be, not great months in the market, but so far so good, right?
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting, right? Like seasonality has not worked at all this year. Sell in May, go away. Definitely did not work out.
Bad strategy,
right? September historically is the worst month of the year. Actually, was a very good month this year.
Yeah.
October, despite some volatility that picked up, still having a good month.
Yeah, still having a good month, and I think the seasonality has not worked nearly as well over the last few years. So
it's super interesting. Like humans want to use these things, kind of help them make sense of the world, and oftentimes it's just random, man.
Here's the great sense of the word: stop trying to figure out what month you need to invest in, and just invest.
Right?
It's always
we all see like those charts. Like if you miss like the best one day, or
it's crazy.
Yeah. And I would put those up. Like it's pretty amazing to kind of see. Like if you missed really the best 5 days of the year, you basically your returns are halved, basically, right?
No, the crazy one is like if you missed the 30 best days in like the last 20 years, like you basically didn't make money.
Yeah,
it's crazy,
and it's It's interesting because the best days are always after the worst days.
They tend to follow the worst days,
right? So and that happened actually last Friday, right?
Yep.
Trump goes on, I don't know,
tariffs, market's down 3%,
and
then we're back to highs again.
And then Monday comes back.
Bounce back. So, markets are doing well, but we kind of want to, we're gonna
bubble
watch. Well, we had Tech Week. I think maybe we could talk about that. Last week was Tech Week.
Yeah, Tech Week in LA is really kind of an awesome week where over, I think, 1,000 events happen. It's actually put together by Andreessen Horowitz, so it's like more kind of the VC type stuff.
Yeah.
And then these events just happen all across the city, talking about all kinds of tech related topics.
Yeah, and I heard there was a really, really cool event.
Oh yeah, right. I heard too,
week.
man. Yeah.
In Main Street in Santa Monica.
Yeah. No, we GK had actually a really cool event. We had one of the ex-lead lawyers at XAI here. We had a lot of friends and clients and people who were interested in the topics here.
Yeah.
And we had a really thoughtful conversation about like this AI.
About AI, you'll never believe it. It's about AI. Everything's about AI. There's no other conversations in tech going on. The only conversations are, how is AI going to affect X?
Yeah. Actually, it's really interesting because...
Not X the company, to be clear. Not X the company.
Well, listen, I think there's absolutely a lot of excitement around this new technology, but also like all the investments that you're hearing about are related to AI, right?
Correct.
So,
and that's what we're going to talk about. And, is there a bubble? People love the word bubble. Like anytime something gets slightly overvalued, people start talking about bubbles.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some really smart clients, thoughtful clients asking me the question. And it's important to actually think about it, right? Like, because, we've seen a lot of bubbles throughout the years. And I think it's important to dispel the fact that you don't know when you are in a bubble, that you are in a bubble.
Yeah.
Oftentimes.
And don't they say if you're asking if you're in a bubble, then you're not yet in a bubble?
Yeah, right. And oftentimes in a bubble, and we're going to define basically what a bubble is, but oftentimes even if you know if you're in a bubble and you're very good, you could be in a bubble for a lot longer.
Years. Yeah.
Right. So I think the reality is, if you're asking if you're in a bubble because you're trying to time things, you're just probably not doing the right thing,
Yeah.
And I think that's really what's important to really size up here,
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the major, let's talk about what actually defines what a bubble is ultimately.
Well, yeah, right. Like, what's a bubble?
Yeah.
Is it a balloon?
Right. Right. You have everything from undervaluation, moderate valuation, high valuation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, listen, the real definition of bubble is vertical price rises. So things are going up quite a bit.
Yeah.
We're seeing some of that, right?
Some of that, yeah.
Especially if you look at the nuclear stocks or things like that.
Yeah.
Right? Extreme valuations, right? Yep. Extreme valuations is by sector, by company. Like you could arguably say Tesla has extreme valuation, but Nvidia doesn't, right? So that's a financial metric. And then also systemic leverage, having a lot of leverage in the system.
Yeah.
By those metrics, we're not there yet.
Right.
Right?
I agree. We don't have a lot of leverage. Mm-hmm. We have some pockets of gross overvaluation, I would say.
Yep.
But what we do, the easiest comparison for everybody to make right now, right, is what we keep hearing is this .com?
Yeah, .com
2.0,
yep.
right? And it's a very easy conclusion to draw because number one, it's the only bubble that we can remember really in recent times,
and it's
like
easy.
major bubble.
It's easy to remember,
right? It's easy to remember, and it was in tech, right? We obviously had the financial crisis, which had its own thing, real estate bubble, etc.
Right.
But the .com bubble is very analogous to where we are right now, but because the build out of the internet versus the build out of AI.
Right.
And yes, that was a bubble. I think it's important to note to talk about valuations.
Yeah.
Right. And
the NASDAQ doubled between 95, I think 2000.
No. The NASDAQ doubled between 99 and 2000.
Right. That 99 and 2000.
The S&P, I think the market averaged 20% a year from 95 to 2000.
Right, exactly.
And the NASDAQ, I believe, was like 30%. I don't have that number exactly, but the PE of the NASDAQ at the time was 100.
Yep.
We've talked about this in the past. 100 would mean that the NASDAQ would basically have to triple from where it is right now.
Yep.
Right, and the S&P was a 32 PE. Right now we're like 22, 23, depending on who you ask and what the trailing earnings. So we'd probably need another 40 to 50% upside from here with no earnings growth,
right,
to reach the same level of overvaluation.
And
as
I think
we had back.
That's a very good point because I also the other thing is. The NASDAQ and the S&P is actually much better quality today.
Correct.
Than it's ever been, right? The companies are actually minting cash, like real cash flow.
I think one of the big things that sort of, as we're, thinking about 2000, one of the big things that people don't think about today versus then is we have companies, everyone's afraid of the Mag 7 companies,
right? Because
they are so overweight, which is not historically is not great.
Yeah.
But my whole career I've heard how they're overweight, basically.
Yeah.
But these companies have such cash flow, such huge coffers that didn't exist in 2000. Like companies were going for, multiples of eyeballs, like literally like this, I think Ross brought up the company Net Zero, and I don't even know if you remember that company.
Yeah.
But I remember their commercials is get internet for $0.
Yeah.
And you're like, but what's the business model here?
Right. Well, unit economics just were not there, right?
Correct.
Before we go into deeper, I have this amazing chart that I'm looking at, and we'll share in our thing is put it up in the video, and it talks about PEs for the current Mag 7 versus the top 7 companies during the 2000. So NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, and Alphabet, and Amazon, and Meta aggregate PE right now is a 26.8, so 27 PE.
And they're excluding Tesla from there.
So the only one that's not in the 20s is Tesla.
And why is Tesla even in this group?
Because because it is an Elon premium.
It's completely unrelated. Like they don't have the cash flow that the other companies have. Like I don't think
we can do an episode on that.
Yeah. So outside of Tesla, I kind of want to use.
So Tesla is 135, and everyone else is in the 20s.
Okay,
that's pretty amazing. Right?
Yeah.
So go back to the tech bubble. Cisco 101, Oracle 85.
Yeah.
Nortel Networks 86.
Who? Nortel. I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, they basically laid. I think they did.
They did all
switches. I think. Microsoft 55.
That was the cheap one.
That was the cheap one.
Yeah.
IBM was the cheapest. It was 24.
Okay.
But in aggregate, the PE was 52.
Right. So double basically
double
where we
are
today,
right? So
That sounds right.
Yeah, and also like as you pointed out, the earnings power, like these companies today are actually making money.
Huge money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And increased cash flows. And, everyone talks about the capital expenditures and all that. And I want to get to that also.
Yep.
But it is important to note that the top companies are making a ton of money still. Now, what remains to be seen is, can everyone else who don't have the pockets that Apple and Google and Microsoft have keep up?
That's a valid question, right? Like, is all the investment going into AI today going to pan out? Like, are we going to see...
Probably not.
Right? And so that's not even the question that we have to worry about, because different companies will have different ROI on their investments, right? Like, if you are, a private credit fund and building data centers and you're looking to get 15%, maybe that's going to work out for you, right? If you are Oracle and you're spending billions of dollars to build these data centers because you're going to sell them at a 20 or 30 or 40% margins, maybe that's going to work out. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a great point. Can you read those top 5 companies from 2000 again?
I can. Yes, I got you. Hold on, I gotta from 2000, you got Microsoft, Cisco, Intel, Oracle, IBM, Lucent, and Nortel.
Okay, so half of those companies are basically non-existent.
Yeah,
and half are still around amongst some of the biggest companies.
Totally, which is pretty amazing, right?
So, and that's the part that I think that's important to everybody. So, do we have a bubble? We're not sure. Maybe not yet.
Yep.
But there will be companies that
will not make it.
Will not make it. They just won't. They just won't go through. They'll go through this, build out and all this kind of stuff, and they may or may not be around. But Microsoft, 25 years later, is still the second biggest company in the world.
Yep.
Right. Oracle, which had been forgotten for a long time, is now back in the spotlight of being a big AI player. Yep. This is a company that was one of the biggest players in the 2000s.
It's like you went to sleep for 20 years and came back up.
Not unlike Microsoft, by the way, right? When Microsoft did that in 2017, the stock hadn't gone up for 15 years.
Right.
Right? So, like, it is important to note that, number one, not everybody will make it. Number two, some companies will push through and maybe thrive and become even bigger companies, or we'll see the same sort of people kind of continue
and by
to
the
dominate.
Way, to put this in perspective, Microsoft is going to do a $370 billion in revenue next year.
That's good. That's good-ish.
I mean, if you that's $370,000 million.
Yes. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And it keeps going up. And every time we go, it can't go up anymore. And it does.
And it's growing at 17, 18% a year.
Yeah.
They're running, 25% margins. It's just...
And if AWS keeps crashing, it's just going to help them.
I know, right?
For those of you who don't know what happened a couple of days ago, AWS servers went down all across the country.
Yeah. Did you hear about all the smart beds that got stuck?
Oh my God.
Thousands of smart beds apparently got stuck on
I smell a conspiracy theory brewing.
AWS everywhere, even in your bedroom.
Yeah. But Azure, can only seem to gain from AWS's ineptitude on just a self-fulfilled glitch on their side.
Yeah.
But again, these companies are just kind of
prevalent.
Amazing. And now you have OpenAI joining the ranks. Like, you're talking about a company with a $500 billion valuation.
Yep. Yeah, I think the reality is, I think what people are asking is the circular kind of investment / incestuous relationships. And we talked with this about our guest on Tech Week is, there's a lot of investment happening between NVIDIA and OpenAI, and NVIDIA invests $100 billion in OpenAI, and OpenAI buys NVIDIA chips, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is the build out is so massive that we need all these companies to work together
for sure
in order for them to build an infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, yes, it's a lot of money, but thank God these companies have the money to do it.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I think we need to figure out in the future, right? Is, I'm looking at all these companies and saying, how can anyone sustain this, right? You buy a Blackwell chip, you buy a Hopper chip, which is the first NVIDIA chips, H100, then you buy an H200, and now you buy a Blackwell, and in 2 years you're going to buy a new one. Who's going to be able to sustain buying these chips every other year other than Apple, Google, Amazon?
Right. Or countries.
Right,
like
right, but like what companies are going to be able to sustain the arms race?
Well, the idea is that, and I learned this during our conversation, is you buy the chips and you use them for training because that's your most powerful chip. The expensive chip for training.
Yeah.
And then as depreciation happens, chips get worse, then you use them for inference, right?
Sure.
And the way that you manage that process between training and inference is going to determine why you can be successful as a data center builder, manufacturer. That's what the CoreWeaves and all those guys, right?
Yeah.
And this is like really, it's not easy stuff to do, right?
No, for sure not.
So I think that's really what's happening right now. But the arms race is we don't have enough chips, and we need a lot of compute to make AI work the way that we anticipate it to work.
Right. And we're like, to quote Jensen Huang, like we have every computer in the world needs to be upgraded from CPU to GPU.
Pretty much, right.
Right. And that's not even including growth. That's just current
infrastructure. Yeah.
And it's huge. But I think to myself, like, again, if I have to pay for all these chips, right? You can buy the chips, you can lease the chips.
Right.
Right? Does this just mean that the cloud providers just become more valuable as they can afford to buy? It's almost like they're digital landlords at this point, right? They could buy up playing Monopoly here, buying up all
buy AI factories, right?
Yeah,
like, that's just kind of.
But if you could buy up all the available chips, right, and create the fastest, right? This is what AWS did with cloud, and Azure and Google came in, and as these companies become more and more, and they have $370 billion like Microsoft does to continue build out, then in the end, do they just become GPU landlords for everybody?
That's what's happening right now, right? And I think you have to also believe that all these companies are doing this at the same time. And maybe there is a groupthink or everyone is maybe going after the same goal here, but also there is a true realization that if you don't build these capabilities, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah. And again,
that's existential.
We saw it in the internet, but the internet is still here, right? We had an internet bubble, right?
And that's the other thing, right? We can have a bubble. The bubble could burst, but the technology could thrive afterwards. And this is why, like, we as investors, we as long-term thinkers, we as capital allocators, we have to think through that process, right? That's why we can't just be thinking, okay, it's a bubble, let's sell all of our tech stocks. It just doesn't how
No,
it works,
definitely not. You just have to know. And it's important to know that even really good companies in the bubble went down a ton, right?
Amazon was down 90%.
Yeah.
During the
and to be fair, at that time, they sold books. Nobody really knew, like,
AWS wasn't a thing.
Wasn't a thing.
Yeah, but Microsoft sold off hard.
It was a 55 PE, right?
Yeah.
And we know that valuations come down in sell-offs. But there will be. Every bubble in history, like every new technology, like, I don't mean regular, something new. Every like existential technology that comes out, right? We've talked about this, whether that's the railroads, whether that's the printing press, the railroads, or Web3 that people were talking about a couple of years ago.
The Nifty 50,
cloud, right? Like, there inherently
tulips.
Is a time to the tulips are different because tulips are
crypto.
I look at tulips more like what was it, Beanie Babies?
Yeah, that's right.
Where you're like, but why?
But why?
There's literally no utility to these things, and so you're creating. This is kind of a self-created bubble, but these other technologies, when a new technology shows itself, there's going to be overbuild as people get excited about it, and then the people who are strongest and have created the best use case will survive and go on. And frankly, we have no idea what AI in 5 and 10 years is going to look like. Just like we had no idea when I signed on to AOL in 1995 for the first time. Yes, I'm dating myself. I didn't realize that I would be able to call an Uber 15 years later.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't even in anyone's thought process at the time.
And that's kind of the humility that you have to have whenever you're going through a lot of disruption and innovation like this. Is we just don't know where things are going. Hopefully we're lucky enough and have enough skill to figure out who are the winners are going to be. And that's kind of the job of us here, trying to understand the world around us. But you're right. Like, if I looked at the last bubbles the last 200 years. You got the railway bubble, right? Now, when the railway started in the 1870s here in the United States, there was a huge boom in railways, and before that, the financial system, like the banks, were the only places you can actually invest, basically, right? But even though that bubble burst, we have
railroads today. Warren Buffett still owns all the railroads. I think he might be from the 1860s. So,
oh man,
but it's true. I mean, like, right? We had that. We had the telegraph. We had radio bubble. We had TV.
There's the radio bubbles too in the 20s.
Yeah, man. People don't know this, and then TVs also, right? Like, so every company and every technology inherently goes through this cycle. How hard the boom bust happens is the question that remains. But our job is to try to find the companies that are going to be successful. And obviously, we've been investors in NVIDIA for a long time. They're the first. They had the first move in this play, right? They're the Intel of the 90s, right? For those of you who remember in the CPU boom, Intel was the first player, right?
And I think you just mentioned a very good point, is chasing a bubble may be something that you don't want to be doing.
Correct.
Right? Like you don't want to be the guy that gets getting greedy and
and I want to sell everything I have so that everything I own now in my portfolio are all AI plays. And by the way, like, this is what's becoming, as markets tend to get frothier and people get more and more excited about AI, the problem is that all the stocks become interconnected now. Right. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I want to talk about, the biggest problem that AI has, which is energy.
Right.
You have companies traditionally like GE, right? GE Vernova, which is the energy part of GE's portfolio.
It's basically the grid maintenance, upgrades, which is massively important, billions of dollars in revenue.
Right.
Like, legit
3
company.
years ago, just a regular power company. Today, I think we would just consider it an AI play, because that's how it trades, and valuation and all that kind of stuff. And it's all related to this power play and AI. We talked about another company that makes wires. Again, these industrial companies that were boring companies.
Right.
Now are AI plays. So I think some of the risk, the systemic risk, right? So there's unsystemic risk, which is risk that you can't diversify across, right? If I buy NVIDIA and then I also buy, JP Morgan, I'm diversifying my risk across sectors, right? But if the whole system is intertwined and interconnected into this one thing, it's harder to diversify. And that's when things get a little bit trickier.
And that's kind of what happened in 2008. Right? Like, when the whole thing kind of fell apart, right? And I think, again, like, as humans, right, we want to have correlations in our brain, because a lot of us do remember 2008 and how things were so tough and people were waiting next to banks to get their money out and things like that.
For sure.
And that's that's scary, right? Like,
for sure.
But we don't see that systemic risk today. We just don't see that.
We don't, but it's important to note that it's out there somewhere. And that's why it's called systemic, because it's hard to actually find it when it happens.
And I think one of if you look at like how you're funding a lot of these data center projects and a lot of these private deals and private credit funds that exist and private equity firms that get involved and all this stuff. I think that would be something to have to be careful and kind of try to be a little bit more aware about what risk you may have there. I mean, it's like, for example, a lot of people thought, I don't want to be in tech stocks because I'm scared. Maybe I'm going to buy REITs because they're boring.
And a lot of them are data centers now.
A lot of them are data centers. So you may have like risk in your portfolio.
And that's the cross risk that we're dealing with right now. Because if I buy an industrial, for example, you just buy the industrial ETF or whatever it is, you're not realizing that the companies that you're buying, like GE Vernova, are high value, because industrials are typically
that's exactly it.
Boring company, like machinery companies, right?
Yeah.
But now you have Caterpillar apparently is now an AI play, which I was like, okay. I mean, everything technically is an AI play, right? Like, if you think about it, like I always joke about this, like what is technology, right? The railroads used to be the high tech parts. Right, so everything sort of morphs into this new system.
But also, I think that's the other point is technology is literally throughout every sector, every business, every industry, which wasn't the case before. And this is why these companies are so powerful, because AWS doesn't just serve the companies, but this is why the world stopped on Monday, because everything runs through AWS.
Yeah.
Hospitals, medical groups, railways, airports.
You guys scared yet?
Huh?
You guys scared yet?
Yeah, right? Like nothing worked on Monday, you know? So.
And I was there when all the airplanes last year, when CrowdStrike had the glitch.
Right.
And they grounded everything. I was at the airport when this happened. So you're like one glitch in technology and everything kind of comes down.
Right.
It's kind of
like
scary.
Like it or not, like it's everything is kind of connected,
it's centralized now.
Yeah. So anyhow, this is why you see in like these companies becoming such a massive. I mean, one of the numbers that I saw this week that really hit me hard is the top 5 companies in the S&P are 20% of the global stock market capitalizations.
Yeah.
20%
of the entire world.
193 countries.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, and some of them are bigger than most of those countries.
Totally. Most of those countries, like I think Nvidia is bigger than France. Like it's crazy.
I mean, how are we measuring it? As GDP?
As GDP, probably.
Market cap versus GDP is kind of an unfair metric.
Unfair,
It's an unfair metric, but yes, I mean the some of these companies actually their revenue are bigger than a lot of countries.
Totally.
And it is kind of crazy, and I don't know where NVIDIA is going to be a year from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now. But they're powering this whole thing. And I use the word power because that is the biggest issue we're having right now. In the sort of, I rewatched The Matrix with my son a few months ago, and I don't know if you
Hollywood man always does well,
dude. The Matrix is actually more relevant today than it was in '99 when it came out.
They gotta go
because everything we're actually starting to. The whole point of it is like we were so proud of ourselves for building AI. And then they basically, if you remember the story, spoiler alerts, they basically grow humans to power their AI because the human body can create a bunch of energy.
Oh man, I forgot the
yeah. So you should go back and watch it because, but power sources, like this is the premise of this movie. Like you need to power this insane amount of computes. That we're just starting out, and one of my favorite terms that I've been using now that I hear now is BYOP, right? These companies bring your own power. These companies need to literally bring their own power. sources.
I mean, our guest was saying Tennessee, the new data center that XAI is building in Tennessee will take 50% of all the energy in Tennessee.
Yeah, like I can't imagine that the residents of Tennessee are very happy about that.
No.
And you're like, well, by the way, 50% of your energy is being diverted to this random AI that nobody knows what it is.
Yeah, and prices are going to go up and all that stuff. So I think you're absolutely right. Like if people ask me, like, how can this whole thing now play out? I think the easiest one for me is we can't figure out this energy kind of bottleneck, because unless we build it, and we got to use everything we got. We got to use solar, we got to use natural gas, we got to use nuclear. Like it's not just one solution that's going to be for everything. The good news is there is enough money going after the problem.
Yeah.
And America has shown itself as being very, very And what are you laughing?
I want to know what the end of this sentence is because I feel like
very innovative.
That's where you were going. I thought you were going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you were going to say very, very open for money being controlling and creating policy.
Yeah. Well, I mean that too, but
but it is true. Actually, money does talk in the end, and money will as more money chases this problem,
100%,
politics will follow.
Yeah. And listen, we're big in sustainability, climate change, and things like that. And I do believe that a lot of clean energy is going to be part of the solution.
I hope that's true because, right, if our energy needs are going up exponentially, we obviously cannot use fossil fuels to power all this stuff. We need sustainable solutions. We need,
dude, there's a lot of desert.
There's a lot of desert, but the small modular reactors, right? Like,
yeah, that's a good one.
Again, I talked to some very high level people about nuclear, and their main thing was nuclear. It just has a bad press problem.
Yeah,
it doesn't have a good PR team behind it.
Yeah,
because it actually is the cleanest energy, and if you actually calculate the number of people who have gotten harmed from nuclear.
Per capita
of usage, it's actually one of the lowest there is, if not the lowest.
Yeah, but it's like big and
it's in our brain. It sits in our brain. Fukushima, Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, right? It's kind of like what we're saying about bubbles, right? People go, oh, well, the market has steadily risen for the last, almost 20 years,
right?
Without a hiccup. Well, let's say 16, 17 years since the financial crisis, right? We have little hiccups here and there. We have COVID. We have, all these things, but
those are not little hiccups, by the way.
They look like it when you look at the long-term history.
Sure.
But what does our brain constantly remind us? Remember financial crisis.
Right.
Remember dot-com bubble. That was 25 years ago.
That's true.
Right? Remember these things because our brains are inherently wired evolutionarily to protect us from bad things happening.
And that's exactly it. It's a protection.
It's a protection mechanism. But in a modern world, these heuristics, as they call them, right? We're going to go deep in psychology now. Actually affect us in a negative way a lot of times. It tells you can't do something. It tells you this isn't possible. Or that you shouldn't invest in the stock market. Because there's a risk of crashes.
There's a bubble.
Right, because there's a bubble, risk of crash. Oh, Trump said X, or the Middle East. This is happening. Like our brains are hardwired in protection mode. But it's important to note that in reality, that's not how it actually works.
Yeah.
So we can override that system.
Yeah. And I think that's really the purpose of this, I think, podcast, this episode, really, number 48, by the way.
Number 48.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, what are we going to do for number 50?
Yeah. We're going to have we should have a future money party.
Pop some champagne.
Yeah, that would be in January. Let's do it. Oh, no, that'll be December.
That'll be December, so it'll be perfect.
Yeah. All right, boom. You are all invited to the Future Money 50 anniversary party. Let's go. All right, we just came up with this. Alex is happy. Let's do it.
Let's start planning.
Definitely planning that. Okay. But yeah, we want to just dispel some of these myths and say that, hey, listen, maybe we are in a bubble. You know, I don't know how big it's going to get. Nobody does. And frankly, it could last for years. It could bust tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the reality is you can't invest just by those heuristics, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're doing all this. That's why we're talking about it. And we are looking through all these companies and looking for companies that are going to benefit from this, but are not insanely valued, but are not just part of the hype. Like, I get made fun of because I always shoot down ideas.
Yeah.
Because of
you are like Mr. No, dude.
Fun
sucker.
Mr. Valuation. I'm not a fun sucker. I just want to make sure we stay disciplined as investors.
No, you are Mr. Discipline, that's for sure.
You're only a man, as they say, right? Do you remember this? In the Roman Empire, they had a guy who would follow the generals around and whisper in their ear, "You're only a man." So they always remember that you're not a god. You're not like you can make mistakes.
Humility.
Humility. Yeah. And so if we constantly remember that, no matter how good we think we are, we're not that good.
Yeah.
You're only a man.
I mean, listen, this business will definitely remind you that.
And it's done it more than once in the course of our career. So, we try to stay disciplined. We buy investments that we think offer great value for the long run.
Yep.
And this is the whole point of this. We spend a lot of time learning, researching, doing things, and a lot of times that means spending a lot of time and doing nothing about the things we want to buy or sell.
Warren Buffett probably the best example, right? I mean, sometimes he spent years not buying anything, you know.
I tell people that all the time. I go, how many times has Warren Buffett changed his portfolio? Like he bought Apple. That's the last stock he bought. That was in 2016.
That's pretty incredible.
Right?
That's pretty incredible. All right. Well, that's the end of October Future Money.
That's right.
I hope that that was helpful. I'll see you back again next month.
Yeah, and for number 50 in December.
We're definitely having a party. Chase, let's get it going, baby. All right.
See ya.
See ya.